Good morning, good morning, good morning to you. Good morning, and how do you do? Good morning, good morning to you. Good morning, and God loves you. Woo, woo. Today is my 32nd anniversary, and you're right. I don't look like what I've been through. That's why I'm all dollied up because I don't usually wear makeup and I don't believe in wearing all kinds of masks. But because I got 32 years in this process called recovery, and because God chose me and woke me up this morning to celebrate this brand new day, which happens to be 32 years free from drugs, alcohol, and all the associated lifestyles. So, yes, I am treating myself today and treating you that I don't look like what I've been through, which is why every morning I put on my cuckoo for Cocoa Pop mask and hat with my mom and my glasses all crooked because transparency is the only way to really touch and save one more soul. All right. And so I want to welcome you to this portion of my celebration. So today we're going to do something a little different, not too much different because this is the AA reflection reading for today, Mysterious Paradoxes, right? And so I want to start off with my testimonial song with a special friend of mine that I met years ago that put me in my first stage play and subsequently participated in one additional play. And so in recovery, we do get the desires of our heart. And thanks to Chad Cooper and his wife and his children, I don't look like what I've been through is the song he allows me to dedicate to my anniversary once a year or as often as I need to let people know I don't look like what I've been through. So I want you to listen to the music and then wait a minute. Let's go back and get them. Let's see. And then we're going to come back and share with you, right? Some of my journey that I shared yesterday of my last day of getting high, but I want to share with you my first day of being sober. Okay, so let's move this out the way and no commercials here and listen to the song. What I've been through. Hallelujah. Come on, help me sing it quiet. Like what I've been through. Because your love. Because your love is true. You made my life. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah. Thank you, Jesus. What I've been through. Listen, the trials did come. Strong winds did blow. But God's perfect wisdom helped me to stay in the flow. You see, he told me not to worry. No, no, no. He told me not to fret. He said, my child, I've never failed you yet. So I went through the valley. He kept his eyes on me. Then I came to the mountain, and that's when God spoke to me. So glad, thank you, Jesus. Yes, what I've been through. Oh, I came through trials and tribulations, but I gotta admit, I didn't understand. But God's infinite wisdom, ooh, had a perfect plan. He gave me one more chance. So glad I know. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah. Make me brand new. Yeah. The devil is mad, but I'm so glad I don't look like. Yeah. What I've been through. Lord, yeah. There's a story behind my praise. Yeah. The reason I shout, the reason I dance, the reason I clap my hands. Yeah. Because you were there, you don't know when and you don't know where. Yeah. He healed my body and he made me whole. Regulated my mind and restored my soul. Every step I take, I know the Lord is in control. Yeah. That's why I tell the world thank you, Jesus. Ooh, yeah. What I've been through. Oh, yeah. Oh. Have you a similar testimony? God woke us all up this morning. For those who are tuning in, obviously some of us did not wake up this morning. But for those who were blessed for one more day to connect with our Creator and to let Him know that we love Him, we thank Him for this earthly journey, that we are walking in this vessel by the Spirit He placed in us. So no matter what we go through and no matter what we look like, God is always in control and God has a plan for your life. I didn't know that 32 years ago underneath that parked car. And so as a result of coming to Alcoholics Anonymous 32 years ago, being put on a spiritual path to have some spiritual experiences that will create a spiritual awakening and will cause a spiritual transformation through spiritual wisdom to achieve that psychic change. Whoa, by the grace of God, your grace and mercy brought me through. I'm living this moment because of you. I want to praise you and thank you too, for it was your grace and your mercy that brought me through. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, and now I see. So, what is your testimony? Do you look like what you've been through? Well, this is my testimonial clothing line where I purchase items and I place different spiritual sayings, scriptures on them because I would rather promote my God's grace and mercy than to promote Uchi Gucci Wuchi, whatever, And so I thank God for allowing me to be able to share my experience, strength, and hope. And I tell you another reason why, because when I was doing my testimony down in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a few years ago, it was at a church event, and there were a number of vendors there. And when I shared my testimony of how God brought me from crack to Christ, this young lady came over to me and said, that's an awesome story. You don't look like what you've been through. And she said, I got just the dress for you. And, I like shopping, right? And so too much, right? But not as much anymore. So I went to her stand and I saw what she had, and she picked out this dress that I'm wearing now. I don't look like what I've been through. Dr. Felicia Haywood, right down in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I give tribute to her because she allowed me to utilize some of her transfers to place on my items. So that's why with this dress, and anytime I do my testimony, I wear this dress. It's clean today. Sometimes, listen, okay? I told y'all I'm transparent no matter what this makeup said, right? Sometimes I pick it up off the floor. Sometimes I get it off the hanger. I don't know. There ain't a domestic bone in my body. You need to know that, right? And so as a result of me wearing this dress at different events, I get to sell my book as well. And it's my 4-year journal entries that I kept the first 4 years in recovery from 1990 through 1993 at the suggestion of my first sponsor. And in that journal, I kept a record of what I was feeling, what I was thinking, some of the things I did, the fears, the hopes, the dreams, the regrets, the remorse, because in recovery, they suggest that we keep a journal as we transition from, listen, yesterday, the 22nd, was the last morning I got high, but it was also the same day that I went into rehab, and I woke up the 23rd of February, and this is my pathway to recovery. And so when we are given suggestions to keep a journal, we need to write what we are feeling. We need to write what we are thinking, because the enemy, the adversary, is trying to pull us back. But when I asked God underneath that parked car 32 years ago to take me out this life now or show me a better way, I wasn't going to go back. I had a made up mind. I didn't know what was in front of me, but I sure knew what was behind me, and I did not want to go back. And so keeping that journal helped me to thy own self be true. When we go to meetings, sometimes we kind of fabricate some things. We even lie, right? When we go to counseling, we lie. When we go to therapy, we lie, right? But when you are keeping your journal to thy own self be true. And so I kept a journal off and on for 4 years. And it's amazing because I think on one day, I think it was January 11th of 1991, I wrote in there visions of being a writer and a speaker. Voila, right? And it's amazing how God gives you the desires of your heart, but also prepares you for things yet to come, right? And so as a result of being in that process for 4 years, I got to record some highs and some lows, some challenges, some fears, some hopes, some dreams, and I just stayed on the course. So I have been associated with my meetings in one way, shape, form, or fashion every day for 32 years. Yes, I now know what commitment is. I now know what love is, but unconditional love. I now know what it means to be of service to my God and to my fellow man. We are born to serve. I'm so glad that 1 hour each day gives people like me in recovery, and there are millions of us, right? But there are more drunks and drug addicts than there are in recovery. But guess what? one person at a time, one day at a time. And so that 1 hour gives us everything we need to live the other 23 hours, right? Drink drug free, and also to help another alcoholic or addict achieve sobriety. So that's my purpose. That's my destiny, obviously, because my knee bowing experience occurred on February the 22nd of 1990 while underneath that parked car. And so I don't look like what I've been through. And not just look on the physical, but spiritually, I am not the same person. And I am so, so, so glad that I'm not, because in our 12-step program, we find out that there's really nothing wrong with us. What we find out is that something happened to us. And through our journal entries and through our writing of the 4th step, we find out what happened to us to establish those attitudes, ideas, behaviors, actions, right? And so when we discover them, how they were formulated, by whom, what situations, what circumstances. Now we have a template to go forward so that we can learn about them, evaluate them, analyze them, and practice not repeating them. That's what recovery has done for me. It has given me the ability to have a psychic change, because the disease of alcoholism is unlike any disease that we have, right? And it also refers to people in recovery who try to project and try to make this and make that. And all the program says one day at a time. So these 32 years were achieved one day at a time. All right. And so what I just wanted to share with you before I go to the reading, I haven't forgot that, but this was my first day of recovery when I went to the Presbyterian Hospital back on February the 23rd of 1990. And this time I came into recovery with my hands up. Whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do. Wherever you tell me to go, I'm going to go. However long it takes, that's how long it takes. And it's amazing because I was in that rehab, the very first rehab I went to. It was a total of 4, but the first and the last one were the same. And it's amazing because when I came back, they reminded me, Edwina, we told you that you would be back because you were in denial about your alcoholism. Although you came in for crack and you came in for your husband, you came in for this, but what you really have is the disease of alcoholism. And as you have shared with us in the past, what your pattern was and what it still can be if you pick up today or tomorrow. And so at this time, I didn't need to stay the whole 30 days because I had already set the foundation. I already had the made up mind, and they wanted to, again, put me on the continued path of recovery. So I stayed there for 14 days, and this is when they suggested to me, Edwina, you heard the word suggested, right? She said 30 days is not enough for you to get yourself together. She said 60 days is not enough. She said 90 days is not enough. I was like, wow, how much time do you think I need? She said, Edwina, we suggest you take a year to discover what happened, to discover who you are, to discover what you can become as a result of attending a 12-step spiritual program, going to a recovery community up in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, going to a transitional house with all women. I was like, whoa, a year? All women recovery community? Alrighty then. Okay. My hands are up. Okay. And it's amazing because when she suggested those things to me, I had some things going on. I had a husband that was dying of cancer, right? And my children were with their father. And I had some other issues, health issues like STDs and stuff like that as a result of being a prostitute. And so when I went to tell my husband, he said, Edwina, you going to leave me now? I told him, I said, Paul, if I don't go get myself together, I'm not going to be no good for you anyway, and I'm not going to be no good for me. So I'm going, and I'm so glad I did. And it's ironic because he dropped me off at the Presbyterian rehab on February the 22nd, and then he picked me up 14 days later to drive me up to Williamsport, Pennsylvania with I think I forget what his name is, but he was driving my car so that I could have a car while I was up in Williamsport. But he had an ulterior motive for me getting my car, but I'll tell you about that. And so as we were driving to Williamsport, Pennsylvania, it was like a 3.5-hour drive. I didn't say anything. I just looked at the sky. I looked at the scenery. I began to see the mountains. And something in me was like, it's okay. It's okay. You're doing the right thing. It wasn't the nervousness. It wasn't the apprehension. It wasn't going back and forth. None of that. I was really at peace. And I didn't need to say anything. I'm sure my husband was thinking of things, but at the same time, he wanted me to get myself together as well. So when we drove up to, I think it was 1234 Vine Street in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, right? And I knocked on the door, and a young lady answered the door, and they said, "Are you Edwina?" I said, "Yes." She said, "We've been expecting you." And so they told me to unload the car, put everything on the porch, and I did. And I'm going to tell you, this is when I knew that I was going to stay in recovery, right? Wait a minute, y'all. This battery's trying to tell me something, and I'm going to be obedient, right? I'm going to be obedient, right? And put this up in, right? And so as a result of having that moment, right? Because when everything was put on the porch, my car was parked in the parking lot, and Paul hugged me and I hugged him. And back in the movies when you would see the cowboys and Indians or whatever, and they drive off and you standing in the background waving. And so as Paul was driving off, I could tell in his eyes, "Edwina, you sure? You can change your mind. Edwina, it's okay. You can change your mind." No. And as the car drove away, I remember waving, and I remember waving until the car went up the hill, and I took a deep breath and said, "Here we go." And yes, I went into that house. I met all the ladies. I got my room, and recovery started in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And guess what? To God be the glory. 32 years later, it's history, one day at a time, okay? So with that little bit, I'm going to get into our reading today because I want to be obedient, right? Because I do not represent Alcoholics Anonymous, but I've been a proud and grateful member for 32 years today, and AA has been in existence for close to 90 years, and so I am so glad and so proud that God chose me to be in this process called spiritual recovery. When I have spiritual recovery, I can deal with any and everything on this earthly journey called life. Okay, so close your eyes. Don't think I forgot. Close your eyes. Take a sip of coffee. And I'm going to read what the reading is today. Mysterious paradoxes. Okay, so here we go. February the 23rd, AA Daily Reflections, Mysterious Paradoxes, such as the paradox of AA regeneration, strength arising out of complete defeat and weakness, the loss of one's old life as a condition for finding a new one. AA Comes of Age, page 46. What glorious mysteries paradoxes are! They do not compute, yet when recognized and accepted, They reaffirm something in the universe beyond human logic. When I face a fear, I am given courage. When I support a brother or sister, my capacity to love myself is increased. When I accept pain as part of the growing experience of life, I realize a greater happiness. When I look at my dark side, I am brought into new light. When I accept my vulnerabilities and surrender to a higher power, I am graced with unforeseen strength. I stumbled through the doors of AA in disgrace, expecting nothing from life, and I have been given hope and dignity. Miraculously, the only way to keep the gifts of the program is to pass them on. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful reading today. So open your eyes, and now that you had your ears on and you heard, and hopefully you listened with your spirit, let's read it together, all right? All right, so February the 23rd, AA Daily Reflections, Mysterious Paradoxes. Such is the paradox of AA regeneration. Strength arising out of complete defeat and weakness, the loss of one's old life as a condition for finding a new one. AA Comes of Age, page 46. What glorious mysteries paradoxes are. They do not compute, yet when recognized and accepted, they reaffirm something in the universe beyond human logic. When I face a fear, I am given courage. When I support a brother or sister, my capacity to love myself is increased. When I accept pain as part of the growing experience of life, I realize a greater happiness. When I look at my dark side, I am brought into new light. When I accept my vulnerabilities and surrender to a higher power, I am graced with unforeseen strength. I stumbled through the doors of AA in disgrace, expecting nothing from life, and I have been given hope and dignity. Miraculously, the only way to keep the gifts of the program is to pass them on. And what do you think I'm doing for you right now? Huh? I'm passing it on. I'm sharing with you, right, information from the Alcoholics Anonymous spiritual program, the spiritual steps, the spiritual traditions, the spiritual concepts, the spiritual fellowship. I'm sharing with you their perspective, other recovering alcoholics' perspective, as well as my perspective, right? But all in the hope of giving hope to others who were just like me and maybe just like you. We can only keep what we have by giving it away. Freely we receive, freely we give. So let's dissect this just a little bit more. All right, so let's go here. It says here, right? Such is the paradox of AA regeneration. Look at the comparison. Strength arising out of complete defeat and weakness. Could you even imagine that? Can you get in touch with that? Strength, strength, strength arising out of complete defeat and weakness. Who would ever thought that to surrender is to win? You are going to the winning side, not the side that defeated you, but you're going to the winning side, right? By admitting complete defeat and surrendering, right? And then it also says here, the loss of one's old life as a condition for finding a new one. Oh my God. I spent 14 years in my addiction. I'm celebrating 32 years in recovery. Can you imagine what I was like during my addiction? You don't want to know. Yeah, listen. You think I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Pops now? Could you imagine me on crack? But what I learned was in this recovery process, when I went back in my inventory, what happened to me, where those attitudes, ideas, and behaviors were formulated, and how those attitudes, ideas, and behaviors perpetuated into my adolescence, my teen, into my adult life until I got into recovery. Yes, so underneath that parked car 32 years ago, did you think I wanted that old life? Hell to the no. I asked that God, I demanded that God to take me out this life or show me a better way. And I was put on the road to recovery and a new life. Okay? Right. And so it says here what glorious mysteries paradoxes are. Now, listen to the comparisons, right? The mystery paradoxes, they do not compete. Yet, when recognized and accepted, they reaffirm something in the universe beyond human logic. They say in our literature, no human power could relieve our alcoholism. No human power. All humans are ill to some extent, right? And so, what this paradox is saying to us is beyond human logic. Dr. Carl Jung, Dr. Bob, and Bill realized that the religion sector couldn't do it, the medical sector couldn't do it, mom, dad, sister, brother couldn't do it. But guess what? We needed a spiritual experience, which is our knee bowing experience, which brought about a spiritual awakening. We were set on a spiritual path to obtain a spiritual transformation that will give us spiritual wisdom to have that psychic change. Yes. So you better believe we don't want nothing from the past but to learn from it, right? When I face a fear, I am given courage. Ooh, when I face a fear. And in recovery, we learn to put acronyms to these words. So in the past, fear would mean F everything and run, forget everything and run, right? But recovery teaches us no. Fear can stand for face everything and recover. Yes. So when you face everything and recover, you gain courage. Yes. Right? When I support a brother or a sister, my capacity to love myself is increased. You hear that? We come to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's all about us. It's all about me. Self-centeredness, right? Selfishness, ego, pride is all about me. But recovery says to me, you come here, people are going to embrace you and love you until you can love yourself. When you reach the capacity to love yourself, you can therefore love others. And so when you love others, it increases your capacity to love yourself even the more, right? Okay. Then it says, when I accept pain as part of the growing experience of life, I realize a greater happiness. Oh my God. Woo! I tell you, when we experience pain, and it says in our literature, pain is a motivating factor, right? To growth and to happiness, right? Because once we endure the pain, acknowledge it, and we apply these 12 spiritual principles, we realize that that pain will pass. And at the end of that pain, what do I need to learn from that, right? And so there is a greater happiness through the pain because I learned more about me, I learned more about you, and I learned more about the process of recovery. So guess what? Yeah, now. And then it says, I am graced. No, it says, I realize a greater pain. When I look at my dark side, I am brought into the light, y'all. Oh my gosh, when I look, don't fear your past. I didn't fear my past. I wanted to learn how I became the way I became. I want to know what contributed to me developing these attitudes, ideas, and behavior. When I admitted, acknowledged, and confessed my dark side, you talking about free? from recovery emerged empowered. Am being set free. Oh, yes. And so now I recognize that when I look at my dark side and be willing to reveal what I've been trying to conceal, I am brought into the new light. When I accept my vulnerabilities and surrender to a higher power, I am graced with the unforeseen strength. Most of the time, before we come into Alcoholics Anonymous, we're relying on our strength, our will, our this, our that. But guess what? My best thinking got me underneath that parked car. So when I expressed my vulnerabilities, when I said to this God that I didn't know, help me, take me out this life or show me a better way, take it all, right? I have been given one day at a time unforeseen strength. Woo, spiritual strength to deal with these earthly issues, right? And then it says here, I stumbled through the doors of AA in disgrace, expecting nothing from life, and I have been given hope and dignity. I shared yesterday at my AA meeting what it was like for my last day and how being underneath that parked car and the flashbacks of the rapes, the beat ups, the suicide attempts, being passed around like a bucket, called all kinds of names, abusing and neglecting my children, stealing, prostituting, right? All of that. It was like, self-loathing, disgrace, the scum of the earth. Yes, yes. But when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I did not know what it was about or what it was going to be about. But what I do know is that I didn't want to go back to where I was. So I have been given hope and dignity one day at a time. And miraculously, miraculously, this is the biggest paradox, right? Miraculously, hear what it says. The only way to keep the gifts of the program is to pass them on. Recovery is about being prepared for things yet to come. And I'm so glad that God prepared me to sit before you right on my 32nd anniversary, as well as sharing my experience, my strength and hope from my perspective on the AA literature, another person's recovery, and hopefully your perspective. So I had to go to my meeting. That's right. I got to celebrate mine today, right? And so I'm not going to look like this tomorrow. I'm going to be cuckoo for Cocoa Pops again. But today I just gave y'all a little treat because I don't look like what I've been through. Now, wear your mask, social distancing, right? Get vaccinated. Get your booster shot, get tested, right? Do all the right things because the mysterious paradoxes are even available among this COVID-19. If no one told you they love you today, I love you. Woo! You know why? Because I love me. And you know why? Because I've learned that God loves all his children. And all he wants us to do is to save one, just one at a time. Have a blessed day. Be safe, and to God be the glory. I love you. You love me. We are one big family with a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Won't you say you love me?